जय गजानन गणेशाय नमस्तुभ्यं हेरम्बाय एकदन्तिने स्वानन्दवासिने तुभ्यं ब्रह्मणस्पतये नमः. So we were looking at Parashar Muni after killing Gajasur Gananatha, who was born to Parashar and Vatsala. Mainly after killing Gajasur, Gananatha disappears. So Parashar Muni and Vatsala, they made an idol of Ganesha, and they continued with their devotion. They prayed, and after that they also prayed to Vishnu. Vishnu also they had asked for being born as a son. So Vishnu Janardana was born to Parashar Muni and Vatsala as their son, who was Veda Vyasa. He was Janardana, that is Vishnu's another name. As Veda Vyasa, he was given the task of reclassification and reviving the Vedas, because Gajasura had destroyed all the Vedas, Yajna Karmas. People had forgotten their all the mantras and everything. So Vedavyasa was born to give the knowledge back to the world, to re-establish, restore the Vedic knowledge. But in the beginning, he thought he was Vishnu. Vedavyasa said, okay, I'm Vishnu, I'm Janardana, I know everything, I know all the Vedas. And so he was very proud and arrogant. And because of that pride and arrogance, he forgot that knowledge. He forgot all that he knew about Vedas, mantras, and everything. So he prayed and meditated to Brahmadeva. And he went to Brahmadeva. Brahmadeva gave him back all the knowledge. He gave him all the Vedas. And he also, initially, actually, it was Vishnu who taught Brahmadeva Vedas. Now, Brahmadeva restores to Vyasa, who is an incarnation of Vishnu, all the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Itihasas, Mimamsas, and everything. Now, all these things he gives back to the Vedas and Puranas. Now, all of them, Veda Vyasa heard all of this, including the Ganesh Purana. And Brahmadeva instructed on him and gave him the knowledge in detail about Ganesh Purana. Then Vyasa performed tapas of Ganesha, and he became a Ganapatya. And after that, he attained Shanti Yoga. Thereafter, he was able to compile all the Vedas and into various sections, which was made available to the common man. Initially, he started with yajna karmas, because karma, knowledge of karma, the mantras which are to be chanted at the yajna karmas were forgotten. So he re-established that as 4 parts of Yajurveda. Those who are well versed in Yajurveda were conferred with the title of Advaryu. Advaryu. The Brahmins who was well versed in Rigveda was called Hota. Brahmins who were well versed in Samaveda were called Udgata, and a Brahmin who was well versed in Atharva Veda was conferred the position of Brahma. In this manner, this 4 divisions was created, and those who learned, imbibed each of these Vedas were given respective names. The Brahmins were all respective, it was these people who could preside as the main priest for chanting the mantras. Then many treatises, explanations, or in the form of mantras were created were created, which are called samhitas. These were Rigveda Samhita, Yajurveda Samhita, Samaveda Samhita. Like this, there were many Samhitas. Then the scriptures containing mantras meant for yajna karmas were known as Brahmanas. The books containing the science of yoga was called Aranyaka. He imparted the knowledge of Rig Veda to Mahamuni Paila. Paila was a disciple to whom he imparted the knowledge of Rig Veda. Yajurveda was given to Vaishampayana. Samaveda was given to Jaimini, and Atharva Veda was given to Sumantu. So these different people were given this entire Veda. So for not only compilation, explanation, chanting, repetition, and also teaching. So Paila Muni was given Rigveda, Yajurveda was given Vaishampayana, was given to Vaishampayana, Samaveda was given to Jaimini, and Atharva Veda was given to Sumantu. Generally, we think Vaishampayana is the Vyasa, mainly because Yajurveda is what we is largely chanted by all of us. Most large number of people chant the Yajurveda, belong to the Yajurveda, and besides it had 4 parts of yajna karmas. So it is give that is why we generally think that Vaishampayana is a Vyasa. But then there are so many others also, Brahmins who were given where the Vyasa was different from Vaishampayana. Then Paila, who was given Rigveda, he divided into 8 sections, which are also known as shakas. Vaishampayana divided Yajurveda into 86 shakas. Jayamini, who was given the Samaveda, divided the Samaveda into 1,000 shakas, and Atharva Veda was divided by Sumantu into 9 shakas. All these shakas were uh, propagated each of these Vedas. They were chanted, repeated through Shruti and Smriti, it was passed on. Then there were Puranas who were taught to this Romaharshana Sutta, to his humble disciple Romaharshana Sutta. That is why whenever any Purana, Sutta is telling everybody, Shaunaka and others. Sutta is narrating Purana. If you take Vishnu Purana, Shiva Purana, or any Purana, we first come across it as a dialogue or conversation which is being conveyed, narrated by Sutta. All the munis, rishis, they first go to Sutta and ask, tell us about this. And Sutta narrates narrates the Purana to all of them. And how he narrates? That Vyasa Muni told this, and Vyasa was told, Vyasa heard it from Shiva as told to Parvati, or Vyasa heard it from this. So like this, it is transmitted, or it is passed on to the Shishyas. So normally to Sutta. Why? Main disciple, the humble disciple of Vyasa was Sutta, to whom all the 18 Puranas were told. So there were 18 Puranas, and there were also several Upapuranas, auxiliary Puranas. So the 18 Puranas were Brahma Purana, Vaishnava Purana or Vishnu Purana, Padma Puran, Shaiva, Bhagavata, Bhavishya, Markandeya, Brahmavaivarta, Vamana, Vayu, Agni, Matsya, Varaha, Kurma, Linga, Garuda, Skanda, and Brahmanda. So these are all the 18 Puranas. Then there are auxiliary Puranas or Upapuranas, subsidiary Puranas. Upapuranas, they are Ganesh Puran, Narada Puran, Narasimha Puran, Kapila Puran, Nandi, Varuna, Durvasa, Ambika, Kalika, Marichi, Bhargava, Aushanasa, Sanat Kumara, Kumara, Maheshwara, Saura, Parashara, and Mudgal Puran. So all these are Upapuranas. Thereafter, He composed Vyasa after writing all the Puranas and after narrating all the Puranas and Upapuranas to Sutta. He took up the next task of Bharata, a big epic, the Bharatam, which was written, which was actually written by Ganesha in writing, and Vyasa Muni narrated it, and Ganesha wrote it by breaking the right tusk. This Bharatam describes, it's an epic, it's big historical records of dharma, victory of dharma over dharma. The highly intelligent Sutta learnt all the Puranas from Vyasa. All it should be understood by all intellectuals that all these Puranas, now this Vyasa is saying, it should be understood that all these Puranas are descriptions of Ganesha. Sutta is telling. Now, Sutta has learnt all these Puranas and he is conveying to Shaunaka and all Munis and Rishis in Dandakaranya forest. He's saying it should be understood that all these Puranas are descriptions of Ganesha. Now, these Puranas are all of different things. Linga Purana, Varuna Purana, Agni Purana, Vayu Purana, Brahma, Brahmanda, so many, all these Puranas of describes various incidents, incarnations, and so many things. But when Sutra says that all these are pertaining to Ganesha, all these are descriptions of Ganesha, Shaunaka and Rishis were a bit perplexed. They said, Sutta, Shaunaka, and all, they all asked Sutta, "Oh, Sutta, why do you say that Puranas of Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, Brahmanda are all Puranas of Ganesha? We are unable to understand. Please clarify." So when they asked this, how come all these Puranas are all descriptions of Ganesha, but they are all different names and different stories containing about Shiva and about Vishnu and everything? How come they are descriptions of Ganesha? So Sutta explains all the 5 forms of Ganesha are described by Maharshi Vyasa. All these 5 forms of Ganesha, Ganesha became these 5 different forms. That is Shakti, Surya, Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. So Maharshi Vyasa, I shall tell you how, even though these are 5 different forms, they are how they are descriptions of Ganesha. In the first Purana, Brahma Purana, the word Brahma is used to describe the formless Ganesha. That is Nirakara, Nirguna Ganesha. Ganesha is the form. Ganesha, with a human body and a trunk of an elephant, is the form. But the principle is the intellect. The principle that enlightens the buddhi, the intellect, he resides as that buddhi. He resides in the heart of all. And only yogis, by meditating on that Ganesha in his heart, are able to know through the intellect about these various forms of Ganesha. O Muni, the tattva, the essence, that is of the formlessness, that is nirguna tattva, and also this expression as forms of Ganesha, and the one who witnesses this, all these tattvas, all these forms, is the Sakshi or the witness. It is that one which cannot be experienced by the mind or expressed by speech. He is Mano Vani Vihina. That is, who cannot be understood by the mind fully nor expressed by speech. So, the sannyasi munis who have adopted various renunciations must understand that The word sannyasa, it's only yogis who have adopted sannyasa that they can achieve the state of being able to understand that which is cannot be understood. So, which is manovani vihina. What is the meaning of sannyasa? They must assume sannyasa. Generally, what we think, okay, a person has become a sannyasi means he has to wear that orange clothes. He should follow certain rituals. That is, just ask for food in 2, 3 houses or 5 houses where at maximum, and follow certain restrictions, or do japa, do certain niyam, whatever discipline that he has adopted. That is, either get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, do mantra japa, um, uh, do certain rituals, and all of those things. We think that is a sannyasi. And so generally, and he doesn't get married, he doesn't have a family, he has no responsibilities as far as the society, the family matters are concerned. And so he is allowed to practice this spiritual practices which he has adopted. So generally we consider that as a sannyasi, as such a person as a sannyasi. But who is a sannyasi? Sa anya asa. It means anya, asa anya, that is, who has no aspiration other than sa, other than union with God. Sa, is that of Muladhar. Muladhar deity is Ganesha. So anya, asa anya, other than sa. That is, nothing else exists other than sa. He has no other desires other than sa, no other aspirations other than sa, that other than that God. Yogis and sannyasis. So these yogis and sannyasis, they just have that singular focus they have, and they try to attain that, and that is union with that God. There are sannyasis are of 4 types, or we can say there are 4 stages of sannyasi. First is kuti chaka sannyasi. That is, he is the one who dwells in a kutia. That is, the one who dwells in an ashram dweller. That kind of a sannyasi. Bahutaka, that who is supported by many. He keeps wandering everywhere, and he's supported by many people, by several of the people and places and all. So he's Bahudaka sannyasi. Then Hamsa, swan. Swan, the one who is able to discriminate, just like a swan means he just knows what is right and wrong. He chooses only the right. Then Paramahamsa, great swan. Paramahamsa, these are designations given to these kind of sannyasis, just like now Paramahamsa. Recently, we had Paramahamsa Yogananda. He is given that title. So he is a great swan. Means that's the meaning is Parama, the superior. This order, as human beings under of sannyasis, they are respected and given that kind of a position and respected reverence in society. Brahmand, this is described in the Brahma Purana. So all these sannyasis, their singular aim is to achieve union with God. So that this is the essence of Brahma Purana, which is the first Purana. So although it describes about the various creations of Brahma, whatever Brahma did and all his lineage and everything, still this is the essence of that Brahma. So it is a description of Ganesha. The last of the Purana, Brahmanda Purana, it is also of Ganesh Purana. How? It describes the Omkara. Omkara form of Saguna Ganesha. Gajanana, who is a form with the body of a human being and shape of an elephant, but he is his essential form. The subtle form is the sound of Om. Om is made up of 5 sounds, 5 parts, or 5 forms. A, U, and Ma. 3, then Nada and Bindu. Nada and Bindu. So these are the 5 aspects of that Om syllable. So that is why these are the 5 expressions of the same Gajanana, through which he conducts all the plays. Yogis meditate on this one aspect of Gajanana, that is Om, Omkara. They meditate on this Om and identify this syllable Om itself to be Gajanana and try to attain union with it. Now, A represents the Brahma aspect, U represents the Vishnu aspect, Ma represents the Shiva aspect, the Nada is the sound, and is the Bindu. So all of this, that is Bindu, is the fulfillment of karma. The shape of the Jagadatmaka or Jagadakara is that form. Om is the shape of this world, that is, which is the symbolic of this whole world. Symbolically, it is an expression of this whole universe. And Ganapati is worshipped for attaining the siddhis. So Vignesha, this Ganapati, the Ganesha, he is the one who appears as this whole universe. So he assumes all these forms and he is a Saguna Brahma. So even Brahmanda Purana, the last of all Puranas, which describes so many things in between, is all essentially description of that Omkara, which represents Ganesha. Similarly, all the auxiliary Puranas, the foremost Purana is a Ganesh Purana. So Ganesh Puran, it itself describes the incarnation of Ganesha. Various incarnations are seen in various forms of Ganaraja is described. Whatever form is assumed, it is the Saguna aspect of Ganesha. The form of pure consciousness, the Shuddha Chaitanya, is the intellect and residing in each of these Saguna forms. And it is through Buddhi that these forms can be understood, and this the power of understanding is that of the Chaitanya, the consciousness, and devotees, all Maharshis, Rishis, whoever are worshipping whatever form of Ganesha. It could be in the form of Shiva or Vishnu or Shakti or Surya or any other Vayu, Agni, whichever aspect they are worshipping, they worship as first the Sakara form, as embodiment of Gananayaka, bearing the symbol of Gajamukha, that is the symbol of the trunk of an elephant. They sing bhajans and mantras. So, by performing austerities alone, yogis, ascetics understand the Saguna aspect and Nirguna aspect, and both together is the form of Ganesha. Then we come to the last of Puranas, that is the Mudgal Puran, which was not told by Vyasa because Vyasa went to Brahmadeva to learn to revive the Puranas. Brahmadeva had told the Ganesh Puran. But this Mudgal Puran was actually, Mudgalacharya had written the Mudgal Puran. Mudgalacharya was the Vyasa before this Vyasa. This Veda Vyasa was Vishnu's incarnation towards the end of Dwapara Yuga, that is during around 24th Dwapara Yuga. After the 24th Dwapara Yuga was actually when Ramayana took place. 2 Chatur Yugas after that, that is 8,000 years ago, you can say, was Vyasa's incarnation. Before that, the Chatur Yuga, before that was when everything was there, means that nothing was destroyed as such. So at that time, Mudgalacharya was the Vyasa. Now, Vyasa is the seat, position, Vyasa is not the name of an individual. Vyasa is the name of a position, one who re-establishes all the Vedas or Puranas, and re-establishes the scriptures when it is lost, when it is destroyed. Now he may not be a single individual, but several munis and rishis who compile, classify, and give it as assigned to Vyasa, as Veda Vyasa who propagated this or that. That is the title of Vyasa is the seat, because it is from that seat that these words are spoken. Because in those days, spoken the these mantras, Vedic mantras, were spoken and heard. So that is why even today, whenever a, a teacher or any the pravachanka, the one who gives discourse or explains the Puranas or Vedas or anything, any of these scriptures, he is said to be addressing from the Vyasapit, the seat from which he tells that it is from Vyasapit. So even when we are narrating this Puranas, it is not that we are telling. It is Vyasa who's telling through us. It is we are just instruments, the mouthpiece, buddhi, the intellect that interprets this knowledge and conveys it. So that is why the seat, the position, the podium from which that knowledge is given is the Vyasapit. So Vyasa is a position from which this, just like how the Prime Minister speaks from the Red Fort. That Red Fort is the seat or the place from which the broadcast happens, which was symbolically inaugurated on the Independence Day, or you can say a day which was selected to be, that is like a Vyasapit, you can say, from the announcement is made. So whatever this position, the place from which this it is announced, or the seat, the Vyasa, when the scriptures are explained, it is called Vyasapit. That is why the person who explains, he has a great responsibility to explain it, interpret it in the right way. So that is why a certain Shuddhikaran happens to that person itself, even before he is eligible to sit there, even before he begins to take up that teaching of the scriptures. He will, if what he has to say has to convey the right meaning, then a certain shuddhikaran, a certain purification process happens to that person. Then only he gets the courage to address from the Vyasapit. Otherwise, there are many people who tell stories. That's a different thing. But to understand and explain the scriptures in its true sense, then that Vyasapit gets that Vyasapit's power expresses through that person. Till that stage happens, the Vyas, it's simply a chair. You must understand the subtle beauty of it, and understand the difference. So Mutkal Puran has been convincing explained about the Saguna and Nirguna Brahma, and he says that the embodied form is yoga, the Shanti Yoga, which has been described in all the Vedas. So this Mudgal Puran, which contains the Shanti Yoga in the ninth Khand, speaks about Abheda Yoga, which is not described anywhere else. Abheda Yoga is the realization that Ganesha exists everywhere. So Sutta is explaining how every Purana, though each of them are different, they all speak of that one Ganesha. There is an essence, a portion in those Puranas that speak of that essence from which this has come about. So what are all the Puranas for? Why is there a Shiva Purana? Why there is Vishnu Purana? Why there is Shakti Purana? Why there is Agni Purana? Why Purana? And so many other Puranas. So many 18 different Puranas. They are speaking of different aspects. Why? That is because human mind has different tendencies, and those tendencies are according to the deity of worship. So if someone who is worshipping a Vayu Purana or Agni Purana or some other Purana, Brahma Purana, Brahmanda, any Purana, they will have, if he is attracted to that Purana and he dedicates his entire life to worship of that, of the essence of that Purana, those are his tendencies. And we are all trapped in our tendencies or vasanas. Vasanas are our habituated behavior based on our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So, if we have to progress higher, we have to exhaust those tendencies or vasanas, get out of the grip of that tendencies or vasanas, then only we can proceed further. So, that is why we have the different Puranas, which are all Kala Amsha, part of the divine, of that same Gajanana. So even though we have all the different Puranas, so many others, still the basic, that they are all descriptions of the same Ganesha, the same Om, the same Pranava, from which everything else has manifested. So that is why some Brahmanas and others always, in fact, not only Brahmanas, all of us have to remember Gananayaka. If Gananayaka or Vignesha, the one who removes the Vignas, if we have to attain success in anything, any endeavor, not only at the reading of the Puranas, but also in every other activity also. So the capable devotees of Ganesha, Vyasa, received the knowledge of Ganesha from Brahmadeva. As a result, he was able to understand all the scriptures and he was able to convey it, classify it, and reproduce it for our benefit. So not only is it the glory of Vyasa, it is the glory of Brahma, it is the glory of Ganesha that actually results in anyone who we are listening, we say, okay, if you go to a katha vachan or katha, if you go and listen to us the narration or chanting, we get peace, we get a peace of mind. That is because of the glory of Veda Vyasa, the glory of this entire scriptures. That is why we are filled with a sense of peace, and also anything what we desire, whatever we desire, we get fulfillment. So this is the greatness of Vyasa Muni, which is a stable, which is expressed in the chapter 34 of the second part of the Mudgal Puran. We shall see further tomorrow. Take a nice deep breath and settle down. See that your feet are firmly planted on the floor, spine erect, hands on your lap, palms facing upwards, eyes gently closed. Bring all your attention to your breathing. Gather the mind which has been hovering over different thoughts. Put them all to one side and bring your attention to yourself. When we hear or listen to Puranas, Itihasas, the epics Ramayana, Mahabharata, we are often drawn to the characters that are described in those scriptures. We all have idols whom we try to emulate from childhood. It's the culture where we are told stories of heroes, of brave men by our grandparents or mother or father. They tell us stories that are registered in our fertile mind as a child. They are the seeds that are sown in our minds so that we imbibe the bravery, the courage, or certain values like truthfulness, honesty, helpful nature of the characters in these epics. While we remember the incidents narrated, we lose the essence that's meant to convey, namely the values. It's the values that we need to hold on to, not necessarily the incidents. If we hold on to incidents and try to apply it in our lives, we lose the context. A certain incident that happened is taken is was related to that context, that period of time, that character, that person, which is quite different from the present situation. And hence we find different results. We mistake the substance for the package. We assume the package to be real and lose sight of the substance, its essence. That's why we are left with appearances, which I said appearances are always deceptive. We need to catch the essence. The essence is always hidden in symbolism, but we mistake the symbol to be the essence instead of knowing the essence behind the symbol. We take our national flag to represent the country. We describe the flag as having certain colors, has to be of a certain dimension, has to be hoisted on a certain day, which is significant for the nation. It is a symbolic representation of our freedom. We may understand the meaning of the colors, but the subtle indication is at the center, which is the wheel, which indicates the Kala Chakra. That's the essence of our scriptures. That has timeless wisdom hidden, and which has been influencing our day to day life. Many countries have come to conquer, have come to trade, have come to win us over. But that Kala Chakra, the wheel of time, that has embedded within it the timeless knowledge of rishis who have chosen this land for reviving dharma over adharma, time and time again. After every annihilation, big or small, through the word of mouth, through the shrutis and smritis, to the memory, through the memory of humanity carried over centuries, over several yugas, several thousands of years. That's the essence. In our day to day life of having to survive, doing our jobs, having a livelihood, for providing for our families, it's that silver thread that binds us all. That still gives us hope that there is some permanent power that will see us through. The waves in the ocean rise and fall, moment to moment. Some are small, some rise high, become tidal waves, but they're all part of that same ocean. The ocean is vast enough to support all kinds of tides. But the oceans have maryadas. They exist within their area. Their limits. When external forces influence, it's then, just as during full moon, a new moon, there may be high tides, which then lashes on the shores. And when we encroach into the area of the ocean, that's when the seawater enters land. Maintaining healthy boundaries is essential for our own well being. That's why we are limited beings. We want unlimited power, unlimited of everything. That's greed. We have all the power we need to maintain ourselves. We have been given the intelligence, the knowledge, the ability, the provisions needed to sustain ourselves. It's only when we hand it over to others or when others seize it from us that the imbalance occurs. Respecting everyone's freedom and their rights is our duty. And all guidance of to what extent these rights, privileges, desires can be expressed and need to be expressed. The guidance is through our scriptures, through the Puranas, through the Itihasas, the stories, the incidents that occurs when they extend beyond their limits. What happens is the knowledge that is shared through generations and passed on to us. So, what we need to remember through the incidents and through those transgressions is what values have been sacrificed or what values have been preserved. That is the essence that we need to catch when we listen to scriptures. So now bring all your attention to yourself and know that this purification process is an inside job. It's only when you get rid of the impurities, of the unnecessary baggage, that we can get hold of that essence. There's a lot of clutter to be cleared. Presence is your gift. Let's not lose that essence. By getting carried away with the package. Bring all your attention to your breathing. Slowly wiggle your fingers and your toes. Rub your hands together. Cup your palms, place it on your eyes. Slowly rub your eyes and your face. Open your eyes when you're ready.